Okay, so I spent all day trying to figure this out. It's just going to be easier if I explain it and show it to you rather than typing it up and putting it in the messenger. Because there's a lot. Okay, so it's all in front of me. All of it. You use a skill check to determine whether specific actions performed by your character will succeed or fail. This is done through assembling a pool of dice, and then after all factors have been accounted for, if there is one success symbol, then the task succeeds. But there's a lot that goes into assembling and then accounting for all the symbols and what they mean. So, onto the dice. There are 4 types of dice. There are positive dice, negative dice, force dice, which is, it's actually just like 1 dice, and the D10. So, the positive dice are the boost dice, which is light blue and is 6-sided. It is this one right there. It's used to reflect a character gaining some sort of benefit or advantage. And it is only thrown by the game master. The ability dice is a green 8-sided dice. It's this one. It represents the character's aptitude. Hi, kitty. Meow. Yeah, hi, meow. Represents the character's aptitude or skill used when attempting a skill check. Sorry. My husband's here and he's laughing at me because I'm talking to the cat and you at the same time. Hi, honey.
Hi.
What was it? Ability dice. And the third is going to be the Yes, hi. Proficiency dice, which is a yellow 12-sided dice, which is that one. It's a combination of innate ability and training and is most often used when your character's using a skill that it's been trained in. You can also use a destiny point to upgrade. Is it upgrade? Yeah, I think you can upgrade an ability dice to a proficiency dice or add a proficiency dice to your dice pool. The ability dice and the proficiency dice are thrown by you, the player character, the person who's not the game master. And it's an upgraded version of the ability dice. It is the only dice that has the triumph symbol. I'll go through all the symbols later. Next you have the negative dice. The negative dice are, okay, positive, negative. It's the opposite of they're opposite of the positive dice. So you have the setback dice, the difficulty dice, and the challenge dice. The setback dice is a black 6-sided dice, and it represents any problems or minor obstacles like poor lighting, bad weather, things that wouldn't normally increase the difficulty of a task, but in and of themselves, but they make it a little more challenging, I guess. Or it's just like a setback, so it takes you a little longer, or whatever. The setback dice are thrown by the game master. It's this one right there. Next is the difficulty dice. It is the purple 8-sided dice, and it's used to represent how complicated it is. The more difficulty dice there are in the dice pool, the more difficult the task is. Difficulty dice are only thrown by the game master. They difficulty dice possess negative, harmful symbols that cancel out any positive, beneficial symbols found on ability, boost, and proficiency dice. Difficulty dice do oppose ability dice. So if you roll a success on an ability dice, but a failure with a difficulty dice, then it cancels out the ability. Next is going to be the challenge dice, which is a red 12-sided dice. Okay, hold on. This is the difficulty. This is the challenge. The challenge dice is used to represent the most extreme adversity and opposition. So, the more daunting the task is, like, I can't think of any examples. You would throw in a challenge dice. So, if you're going up against a trained elite, help me think of something, honey. Trained elite, what would a bunch of random knuckleheads running around the galaxy run into in Star Wars?
Black Sun Enforcer.
Black Sun Enforcer. If we ran into Phasma, there we go. We run into Phasma as we are leaving our spaceport. Then we would throw a challenge dice. They feature primarily negative, obstructive results, such as threats, failures, and the ever-potent despair. Challenge dice and difficulty dice are only thrown by the Game Master. The challenge dice is also an upgraded version of the difficulty dice. Okay, so that's the end of the negative. The force dice is a white 12-sided dice, but it's generally only used in dice pools of characters or creatures with force sensitivity or under special circumstances determined by the Game Master. Unlike the other dice where it affects, whether you succeed or fail, or how bad you succeed or fail. Or I guess it's not bad if you succeed. Well, I guess it can be. You can succeed very badly. So, unlike that, it produces resources. Light side and dark side points, which are grouped together under destiny points, and I'll explain destiny points later. But so, there is no zero if you roll. So when you roll a force dice, you're always going to get something. It's just either going to be light-sided force points or dark-sided force points. And the 10-sided dice, or the D10, is mainly used for percentile rolls. So, you roll 2 D10s. You pick one for your 2-digit, 10-digit. I'm going to go 2-digit number. And the other one for your single digit. And you roll both of them. And then whatever you roll, so say I rolled, one is a 2 and the other is a 5, I rolled a 25%. It's usually used to generate numbers to find results on lookup tables, so for the severity of a critical injury, whether or not your outstanding obligation comes into play. I haven't gotten to obligations yet. I think that's the next chapter. Oh, that's not helpful. That's for if we don't want to use the game dice and we want to use like actual dice. They gave us this nifty little chart here, which is very confusing to look at after reading all of this. So Now we're going to go on to the dice symbols. The positive results, the negative results. I'm sorry, this is so long. So, positive results. We have the success symbol, which looks like... Hold on. This little firework thing. There we go. That one. Right there. They're used for determining whether a skill succeeds or fails. One success symbol can be canceled out by a failure symbol, which looks like this little triangle thing. Hold on, I gotta get to focus. That, right there, that triangle. Right above the pink highlighter underneath the word success. Success symbols can also influence the magnitude of the outcome. So, if you're in combat and you throw a success, it's added to the damage you inflict. So if you threw 4 successes, you would inflict 4 additional damage. The success symbols appear on the boost, the ability, and proficiency dice. Next is advantage. It looks kind of like angel wings with a star in between them. It's probably some weird Republic symbol, but I can't think of the name for it. So it's angel wings with a star. And it's not focusing. Focus! Is it focusing? We'll call it focused. It indicates... So the advantage there we go. Indicates an opportunity for a positive consequence or side effect, regardless of whether or not you succeed or fail. So you can still fail a task and gain the advantage. Like, what would be an advantage? Ducking for cover. Slicing a computer. Yeah, that's all I can think of. So, even if you fail, you can still succeed. So, like, you failed at shooting your opponent, but you still successfully dove behind cover. Or I guess that's a bad way to word it. No. If you have questions, just ask. So, the advantage symbol doesn't directly impact if you succeed or fail, just the magnitude that you succeed or the magnitude you fail. So like a critical success or a critical failure. And if you don't know that, I know Robert will get that. He can explain it better. Characters may use advantage results in a wide variety of ways. You can use special side effects from like power, recover from strain, additional maneuvers, blah, blah, blah. However, a threat symbol will cancel out an advantage symbol. The threat symbol kind of looks like a mini Death Star. I'll see if I can get to focus. Right. That right there, next to positive results. That symbol, that is the threat symbol. Why is it? So, the advantage symbol appears on, again, the ability, the boost, and the proficiency dice. Oh, it was fine, Mike.
Okay.
I think. It wasn't bothering me. They'll leave in a minute. Next is the triumph. The triumph symbol only appears on the proficiency dice. It indicates a significant boon or beneficial outcome. Each triumph symbol provides 2 effects. It counts first as a success. And second, Can be used to trigger incredibly potent effects. So you can automatically trigger a critical injury with a successful attack, or activate a weapon's special effect, something that normally requires multiple advantage symbols to activate. You can activate with one triumph symbol. Because the triumph symbol does count as first as a success and then as a triumph, the success part of the triumph symbol can be canceled out with a failure symbol. But what did I call the other one?
Triumph?
The second effect can't be canceled. I think that's what it was. I'm gonna go with it can't be canceled. I'll let you know if... I'm fairly certain it can't be canceled. Hold on. I'm rereading quick. Yeah, the second aspect of the triumph symbol cannot be canceled. Right there. If you roll a triumph symbol, you gain both effects, both the success and the second ability, triggered ability. And you don't have to choose between, do I want the success or do I want the ability? You just get both. I think that's it for that one. Next are the negative results: failures, despair, threat. I will go over that. Sorry, this is a lot, I know. So, failure, that little... Honey, can you hold this for a minute? That little triangle symbol. Thank you.
Welcome.
Are used for determining whether a skill or a check passes or fails. It cancels out any success symbols, the little firework thing. However, just because you roll one success and 3 failures does not mean you critically fail. It doesn't affect the magnitude that you fail. It just means you failed. The failure device appears on all 3 of the negative dice. Setback, difficulty, and challenge dice. The threat symbol, that little Death Star looking thing I showed you earlier. Let's see if I can get it to focus again. That one. Oops, hold on, let me get my finger in there. That one, right there. Is used for fuel. It fuels negative consequences or side effects, regardless of whether you succeed or fail. So, an example. What is an example? You take longer to slice a computer. Your weapon misfires or gets stuck. Yeah, stuff like that. And you can still succeed in a task and generate threat, which does diminish the impact of your success. I don't think killing a chicken in Skyrim after saving somebody counts as diminishing your success. Although it does, because you end up thrown in jail because you killed a chicken. Why are you laughing?
That would diminish your success.
It would. It's just, I feel like it's almost like a critical failure. Like, you gently caress the orc you're trying to shove off the cliff, and you end up marrying them. The Game Master generally resolves any threat effects. And if you want to know more about threat, it is covered on page 205 of 457. Threat is found on all the negative device. I said device. Negative dice. The setback, difficulty, and challenge. Why are you laughing, Michael?
Because I would have said the same thing.
And then the despair symbol, which looks like the failure symbol, only it's hollow and has a circle around it, like a halo. Okay, probably not really a halo, but it looks like a halo. See if I can get it. It is. That's a foot. Where is it? There. That. It's really blurry. I'm sorry. I can't get my camera to focus. Hold on. Let me try. Yeah, I made it worse. Hold on. Still trying, sorry. There. That. Right there. That's the despair symbol. It indicates a significant bane or detrimental outcome. And it is the opposite of the triumph. It has... So like the triumph symbol was you succeed and you get this special ability, this special benefit. Well, with the despair, it counts as a failure. And... what was the other part? It can trigger any negative effect. So, not only would you fail, but your weapon would also jam or something else. And it would include effects above and beyond any triggered effects from the threats. From whatever threat you got from the GM rolling the threat dice. And like with the triumph dice, or with the triumph symbol, with the despair symbol, you suffer both effects. You don't get to pick and choose. The despair symbol is only found on the challenge dice. And multiple despair symbols are cumulative. So each despair imposes one failure and can generate its own effect. So you roll 2 despair symbols, you get 2 failures, and then 2 negative effects on top of that. But again, it only appears on the challenge dice. The force... Hi, kitty. This is little kitty. She says hello.
Wow.
The final category is the force dice. The light side is little white circles. Dark side is little black circles. I didn't actually read this because I figured that it was white circles good, black circles bad, and we don't roll it very often because it's used to generate force points that, yeah, I didn't really read it. I didn't think it applied to us, even though it probably does, so I didn't really read this part. Lights, camera, action. So, that's the dice. You can pause, review, whatever. I'm gonna keep going. There's still a lot in the chapter. Actually, I think I'm almost done. I think there's only 10 pages left. Oh, never mind. That's 10 sheets, not 10 pages. So, yeah. Now, so those are the dice. Now we're going on to how do you assemble the dice pool that you throw. So, the player only uses ability dice, and proficiency dice. Occasionally a force dice. 3. Everything else, the game master throws. You might want to read all this, Max, in case you haven't. Because I'm only going to go over the stuff that the players need to know, not what you need to know. I can go through it, but I haven't. There was a lot. My brain hurt. This took me, like 3 weeks to go through. To figure out, because it confused the shit out of me. Okay. So, skill checks are used to determine character attributes, whether you succeed or fail, blah, blah, blah. Type of skills check required is determined by the GM. The player creates a pool of dice based on the different factors involved. So, for the basic dice pool, we have to go over the characteristic rating, skills, and training. I made kind of like a cheat sheet on sticky notes over here. I'll do it in an Excel spreadsheet and stick it in the group in case anybody wants to look at it or have it as a cheat sheet for themselves. Okay. So, the dice, while some advanced or complex actions require a large pool of dice, the basic dice pool is quite simple. So, the dice pool relies on 3 factors: the player character's inherent ability, any specialized training, and the difficulty of the task being attempted. So, characteristics. The intrinsic abilities are defined by 6 characteristics: brawn, agility, intellect, cunning, willpower, and presence. Brawn and agility are a measure of the character's physical abilities: strength, flexibility, agility. Oh, wait, agility is one of the things that's not agility. Athletic prowess, skill with weapons, general toughness. Intellect and cunning are the character's mental abilities, reflecting his knowledge, analytical skills, cleverness, and deductive reasoning. Willpower and presence represent the character's personality and force of spirit, such as his charisma, mental fortitude, and how well he relates to and interacts with others. If I'm going too fast, I'm sorry. A character species determines his starting characteristics. Each player has the opportunity to increase these default characteristics during character creation by investing a portion of his starting experience. After creation, you can't use your XP to raise your characteristics. But you can increase characteristics. I don't know, it just says you can increase characteristics in game. It's a significant investment, something that may only happen a few times over the course of an entire campaign. Players need to think carefully about their characteristic ratings and should consider investing a significant portion of their starting experience points in improving their characteristics. I just read that to you because it was all in bold. I didn't highlight it. I just thought I'd let you guys know. Players should consider going against the stereotypes or possibly plan ahead in anticipation of moving into other careers over the courses of the campaign. That one I highlighted. That one was just a suggestion from them, and I highlighted it for my own personal use. Do with it what you will. So, characteristic ratings. So, you know how if you're looking at your characteristic ratings, it gives you like a 2 for brawn, 3 for intellect, or whatever, based on the species you chose. So, in general, a rating of 1 is weak. 2 is average. 3 to 4 is significantly above average. And 5 to 6 represent exceptional performance and ability. During character creation, you can't go above a level 5. Your characteristics are capped out at level 6 throughout the campaign. So you cannot go higher than a 6, even if you wanted to. They just said no. And yes, I'm rambling for a reason. I'll get there. I'm sorry. Okay, so agility measures a character's manual dexterity, hand-eye coordination, and body control. Agility is used for the physical skills coordination, and the ranged combat, like ranged light and ranged heavy. Brawn is a blend of the character's brute power and strength and overall toughness. It's used for the physical skills like athletics, brawl, and brawn, and used to determine your starting wound threshold. Cunning is how crafty, devious, clever, and creative a character can be. If you quickly pick up on social environmental cues, come up with short-term plans and tactics. It's used for a number of the mental skills like deception, perception, and survival. Intellect is the character's intelligence, education, ability to reason and rationalize. You can think of long-term strategies and envision the ramifications of present actions like all adults wish we could. It's used for skills, astrogation, computers, and any of the knowledge skills. Presence is a character's moxie, charm, confidence, personality. They make natural leaders, and presence is the key characteristic for interpersonal skills such as charm and leadership, because they had to tell us that twice. Willpower reflects a character's discipline, self-control, mental fortitude, and faith. It's used for a number of skills like coercion and vigilance, and it's used to determine a character's starting strain threshold. Different careers and professions use different characteristics more than others. Blah, blah, blah. I've got my little cheat sheet here. My little sticky note cheat sheet. I'll stick it in an Excel spreadsheet and stick it in the group chat for you guys. Skills and training. While characteristics are extremely important and create the foundation of a character's abilities, skills and specialized training are also key components of a character's makeup. They represent your training or experience in performing specific tasks. Just because, although a character you can attempt almost anything without proper training, you'll be more effective and capable if you're skilled at performing the task at hand. Each skill is linked to a specific characteristic, like we just went through. And I'll go over that in a minute on why that's important, why we need to know that, why we need to know this. Each skill is linked to a specific characteristic, the default ability a character uses when blah blah blah. Proper skill training can compensate for low characteristic rating, but the most proficient characters are those that have proper training and strong linked characteristic. Well-rounded characters. Your career choice provides you career skills, so you go through and you start off with ranks already in some of the career skills. So, oh crap, I gotta find it. Jedi and Darkside, that's not it. Starships, that's not it. Discipline, willpower, skill descriptions, acquiring talents. So, Yeah, if you guys have questions about that, just ask. I'll explain more later. I'm not entirely sure what questions you'll have and what I'm explaining well enough for you to understand what I'm not explaining, because I don't know. It took me 3 weeks, and, like, I get it all in here, but I'm not entirely sure how to explain it in a way you'll understand. So I'm doing the best I can. I'm sorry. And this is 35 minutes already. Holy shit. Okay, moving on. Difficulty, the third defining factor is, in defining a dice pool, in addition to characteristics and related skill, is the difficulty of the task being completed. Task difficulty is defined by the game master, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, possibly 7 if you want to use it, difficulty levels. So you have the simple difficulty, which is routine. The outcome is rarely in question. So do you really want to have to roll the dice to see if you succeed in opening the door? I don't think so. Easy difficulty is 1 difficulty dice. It's something that should pose little to no challenge to most characters, but it's possible something might go wrong. That is one. So, like, picking a primitive lock. I don't know what counts as a primitive lock in Star Wars.
Like a regular lock?
Probably.
Like one of our regular locks as opposed to something that's computerized?
Maybe. Picking a lock. Like the easy ones on Skyrim where it's like, and it unlocks. Why am I using Skyrim as an example? Mikey, this is all your fault, you and your Skyrim playing.
Yes, it is. I have no shame in that either.
Then you have the average task, which is 2 difficulty dice. It is a routine action where success is common enough, but failure isn't surprising. So, stitching up a small wound, finding food and shelter on a planet where there is, on a temperate planet, that kind of stuff. Next is the hard task, which is 3 difficulty dice. It's a much more demanding of the character. Success is feasible, but failure is not surprising. Setting broken bones, shooting a target at long range, that sort of thing. A daunting task is 4 difficulty dice. 4. It taxes a character and may push him to his limits. Success may be difficult to achieve, but it is possible. Performing surgery or grafting implants. Finding food and shelter on a Tatooine. Shooting at a target at extreme range. What's extreme range? I know short range, medium range, long range. It's a long ways away. How can you get farther than a long ways away? Apparently extremely.
Firing over a mile?
That's still long range. That's still a long ways away. Long range. So, what's...
2 miles.
You're shooting at a mountain from another mountain. There. That's extreme. Actually, that might be... that might be the next one. The 6th one is formidable tasks, which is 5 difficulty dice. Task seems nigh impossible. In fact, it's more possible that you'll fail than you'll succeed. It's possible to succeed. Very, very unlikely. Cloning a new body. Finding food and water on a planet with no atmosphere. No breathable atmosphere. Trying trying to hit somebody standing on a mountain from the opposite mountain of a mountain range, many mountain ranges away. The last one is impossible tasks, which it's used in some situations. It's up to the GM whether or not he wants to roll for it or use it, so I didn't read it. Okay, so that was the difficulty, the characteristics, the dice. Now we're getting into how it all works together. So to make a skill check, you assemble your dice pool. The player rolls ability and proficiency dice. All the other dice are rolled by the game master. So you create your base dice pool. And either side has an opportunity to use destiny points to upgrade the dice. I'll get into that later. So applying skills and characteristics. So what they said is when performing a task, the GM and the player determine which skill is most appropriate. This also determines which characteristic is used. So if I was programming the computer to make a jump to hyperspace, that would be the astrogation skill, which is connected to the intellect characteristic. Okay. The ratings for these two attributes determine the number of ability and proficiency dice that are added to the dice pool. So you figure out which skill you're using and which characteristic that falls under. And then you compare the two. So if what your rating for your characteristic is. So say it's 2. But I have 2 ranks, 3 little black dots for my astrogation. You compare them. Whichever one is highest is what you're going to roll for your ability. And then you compare them. So how many numbers it is above the lowest one is how many ability dice you would throw. So I would throw 1 ability dice for the astrogation. Then I would take however many ranks I have of the lower level, whatever the lowest number is, I would throw that many proficiency dice. And so I would throw 1 ability dice and 2 proficiency dice. So I'd throw 3 dice all together. And then that is what the player throws. There's some examples of it on page 19. I recommend looking at them. That's what helped make this a little more sense. Everything after that, modifying dice pool. Upgrading dice, more dice than available. I'm pretty sure that was all max. I just skipped it. My brain hurt. Individual talent or effects describe blah, blah, blah. The part that, that kind of applies to the character the player is individual talent or effect describes what circumstances warrant the removal of a dice as well as the number and type of dice removed. Removing dice is done after all other dice have been added and all upgrades or downgrades have been applied. Interpreting the pool. All successes and failures in the pool are canceled out. So successes cancel failures, failures cancel successes, triumphs cancel failures, despair cancels successes. Everything we went over before on the symbols comes into play here in interpreting the dice pool. If all success and failures in the pool are canceled out, or if there are any net failures remaining, your skill check fails. You fail. You're a failure. If all you need to pass to succeed at a skill check is 1 success symbol, just 1. After everything is said and done, you need 1 success symbol left to pass. And then it's going over again advantages and threats, triumph and despair, abilities, any good, any bad. So, if you want to read it, you can. Okay, so that's a skill check. Now we're on to other types of checks. Yeah, there's other types of checks. There's opposed checks, competitive checks, and assisted checks. So, brain fart. Oh, why my head hurt. Opposed checks are often used when success or failure of the task is strongly influenced by an opponent. So, a thief breaks into a pharmacy, steals all the spice. Mayor is addressing everybody, and the thief says, "It wasn't me, I didn't do it," but the mayor uses his vigilance skill against the thief because he was vigilant. And saw the thief steal the spice from the pharmacy. I don't know this. And so the mayor would roll against the thief. That's an opposed check. If you're actively trying to prevent a character from succeeding, or one character is trying to overcome or bypass another character, that is an opposed check. Opposed checks add is that the ability, or I think, and hold on, I gotta go back and look at all my symbols. Because they use symbols, they added more symbols, so they use certain symbols for, oh, this is this dice, instead of just saying it was that dice, and I don't remember all the symbols. There's too many pictures and numbers, and is that the ability, or? No, it was the difficulty. Opposed checks add a difficulty dice and a challenge, possibly a challenge dice. Hold on, almost back. To the pool that the game master throws. A quick comparison, opposed checks add a difficulty and a challenge to the skill checks dice pool. So yeah, to the pool that the game master throws. Similar to standard checks. However, instead of assigning a general difficulty level to an opposed check, a quick comparison between the active and opposing characteristics and skills and ratings determine the difficulty of an opposed check. So it starts out like normal. The player character builds your normal dice pool. You build a normal dice pool. You build your dice pool, the game master builds his dice pool, and then using a difficulty and potentially upgrading them from difficulty dice to challenge dice based on characteristic and skill rating. And then the opposition introduces their dice based on their rating. And then you see what happens from there, and then you compare and contrast, and like normal. Competitive checks. Multiple characters are attempting the same task and trying to determine who accomplishes it first, better, or measure some other outcome. The GM assigns a difficulty level for the task, and each character involved in the competition makes a skill check based on that difficulty. So you would throw an ability and proficiency dice, or based on, you'd assemble your dice pool with your ability and proficiency dice and throw it, and whoever has the best throw wins based on the difficulty of it. Because you throw a difficulty dice too, or multiple difficulty dice. It's important to track how many total successes you generate with their respective dice pools. The character with the most total successes wins. If there are no successes, or all successes are canceled out, then it goes to triumph, blah, blah, blah. The person with the most successes wins. If it's a tie all the way across the board after doing multiple checks, then the game master determines who's the winner. And they give an example on page 25 for it too. Assisted checks, so a player simply you need to explain how your character is helping with the task. If the explanation is reasonable, the GM may award assistance. And there's two different types of assistance. There's skilled assistance and there's unskilled assistance. So, skilled assistance would be... I can't remember character names. Or species. Wookiee. Trandoshan. Skilled assistants would be our Wookiee and our Trandoshan going on a bounty together, catching the bounty together. Unskilled assistants would be our spice-loving mechanic helping our medical droid on surgery. Yeah. With skilled assistants, you would throw your dice with theirs to help. Unskilled, a boost dice gets thrown in because, like, you're there, you're kind of helping, but you're not really doing anything because you don't know what the fuck you're doing because you're high on spice.
High on life.
Yeah, generally only character can provide assistance. Only one character can provide assistance at a time. Assistance and timing. During combat or structured encounters, assistance can be accomplished by performing the assist maneuver. This maneuver allows an ally to benefit from assistance provided by an engaged ally on his next skill check. Assistance only lasts until the assisted character's next activation. For more on assist maneuver, see Chapter 6, Conflict in Combat. Oh, my brain hurts, and I'm just explaining.
Wait till you play.
Okay. Other key elements. I'm sorry, this is almost an hour long. Talents, skills. Where skills represent what a character knows, talents represent various tricks, techniques, and knacks you've picked up over your career. Each talent is a distinct special ability that provides the character with an edge in certain situations. Talents are divided into several categories and are either active or passive. Active talents require the player to state that your character is using it. Kitty, you can't come up. I'm sorry, Mau Mau. Some active talents have cost or requirement associated with them, such as investing a destiny point. Passive talents either constantly provide their benefit or are automatically triggered under certain circumstances. On your talent trees, like your career, your specialization, it'll tell you, like, it'll say this is your talent, and it'll give you, like, underneath it what it is. And I think if you look at it on the PDF or in the book, I printed mine off so it's all in black. I'm like, Kitty, leave him alone.
Why do you do that?
Little brat. I was saying something. What was it? Right. Talent trees. So mine is all in black and white because I printed it off. But in the book or the PDF that I had added earlier, it's all in color. One color is an activated, one is a passive. Or it'll say active or passive. Some talents belong to a series of related events. Some are improved versions, others are like the same identical thing, and so they just stack on top of each other. Majority of talents are specific to a character's given profession. Talent trees are divided up into 5 tiers. The higher tiers represent better talents. See Chapter 4, Talents, for a full description of each talent and how they're used in play. We're still in chapter 1. Okay. Destiny points. I told you guys we'd get to destiny points eventually. We're here to destiny points. I'm sorry, this is an hour. Player characters are intimately connected to destiny. Destiny is that special spark that elevates heroes above commoners, imbuing an individual with enough significance in the galaxy's events to be a player character. Concept of destiny and the player's character's ability to tap into and influence the resources is represented by destiny points. It's interwoven in the force which pervades the galaxy in both light energy and dark energy. Destiny is one way the force guides and surrounds the characters. Destiny points are a resource that can be invested by either the players or the game master for a variety of different effects. For example, destiny points may be used to upgrade ability dice or difficulty dice or trigger certain talents or special events. Like the Force, Destiny has both light and dark side. Light side points favor the characters and can be used to aid them in their actions. Dark side Destiny points impede the characters and are used by the game master to imperil and complicate the actions. If you use a light side point, because, you know, everything's in balance, blah, blah, blah. You use a light side point, it becomes a dark side point. You use a dark side point, it becomes a light side point. It's this ebb and flow to Destiny. And Destiny points, like there's an ebb and flow to the Force. And they want us to use, instead of like hoarding all the light side points, they want us to, you know, use them. Not use all of them all at one time, necessarily. But use them for ebb and flow to help with story, gameplay, make it fun. The other thing we can do is, so we can spend, convert it into light side, dark side. Oh crap, I'm at 15% power. Player may spend one, you can also use Destiny points to upgrade dice. So you can use a Destiny point to upgrade an ability dice to a proficiency dice, but you can only do it once per throw. But the same way you can use it to upgrade a proficiency dice, the GM can use it to upgrade a difficulty to a challenge dice. It can also be used to keep characters out of harm's way. Characters can call on Destiny to make an opponent's skill check more challenging. Some powerful talents allow characters to spend Destiny points for various effects. Destiny can also be used by the players to introduce facts and additional context directly in the narrative. So, this use of Destiny points provides the players with the means to make contributions to the story as well as the GM. So, you land on a planet. You thought it had a breathable atmosphere. Turns out there's a leak in the mine, and it's not a breathable atmosphere anymore. You can say, hey, I'd like to use a Destiny point. And if everybody's cool with it, then you can, you know, what the Destiny point's gonna be for. So, good thing you remembered to pack those rebreathers so we can breathe on this planet without atmosphere. And if it's approved, okay, you all have rebreathers. Like, it's just a fact. Somebody remembered to pack rebreathers, and it's on the ship so you can use it. You don't have to worry about trying to find them on this planet you can't breathe on. No, kitty, you can't bug me right now. Sorry. But the GM has the final say over whether that narrative added whatever rebreather nonsense thing I just said is okay or not to use. Blah, blah, blah. Destiny is a powerful resource and should not be abused. Obligations. Oh, grief. Okay. Improving obligations. Obligation in play. My brain hurts. This page is completely black. I didn't highlight it. I don't have notes on it. You can read it yourselves. It is page 29. Starting experience points, improving characteristics, skill training. I think we've already gone over this. You can't go higher than rank 2. Any skills outside of your career cost you additional. Same with new specializations, new talents. A little more details on page 30 of that. Okay, derived attributes. Your wound threshold, strain threshold, defense, and soak value. Your wound threshold represents how much physical damage you can withstand before you're knocked out. It is determined on your species. Your starting wound threshold is determined on the species brawn rating. After character creation, any increases to a character's brawn rating do not increase your wound threshold. Wound threshold improvements are acquired by purchasing the appropriate talent, such as Toughened. Yeah, I know I get it on my hired gun Marauder tree. I don't know what other trees have it. Strain threshold, how much duress a character can withstand before he is stunned. Is more easily suffered than wounds and can be used as a resource by players to trigger certain character abilities. Character straining threshold is determined based on his race and his willpower rating. So it'll give you what your strain threshold is, and then you add for your species, and then you add your willpower to it, and that is your strain threshold for your character. Defense determines how difficult a character is to hit in combat. Characters have both a ranged defense and a melee defense. A character's default value in both ranged defense and melee defense is 0. If a character's defense value is listed simply as defense and not specifically defined by separate ranged and melee values, then the same value is applied to both ranged and melee. Defense is most commonly gained by wearing armor or by adopting a defensive position in combat, such as gaining cover. Some special talents also increase your defense rating. Soak value is how much incoming damage you can take, or shrug off before taking any real damage. It is subtracted from... The soak value is subtracted from any incoming damage to the character. Any remaining damage after subtracting the soak value becomes wounds applied to the character against the character's wound threshold. Default soak value is equal to brawn rating. After determining this initial value, increases to a character's brawn rating do increase your soak value. So if you increase your brawn after character creation, your soak value does go up. You can also increase your soak value by wearing armor, and some talents increase it for you. Okay, I think that's it for Chapter 1. Yes! Chapter 2 is character creation. That's all I got. Message me if you guys have any questions. If I didn't explain anything right, I'll try to explain it better. My brain hurts. See you guys Tuesday.